The Wall Street indices dipped in a choppy trading session yesterday on back of General Electric shares countered the positive retail earnings that came by Target. Also, investors are eyeing the key resistance level benchmark for the S&P 500 after a strong run for the index this year. Concerns over the US and China trade relations also hovered around, while the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that President Trump would reject a trade deal that was not perfect, but the United States would still keep working on an agreement. This is what he had to say. Also on Monday, Pompeo also indicated that Washington and Beijing were on the cusp of reaching a deal and that would end the trade skirmishes. So on back of these contradictory statements from Pompeo also is the reason why the markets are still holding calm and steady and not logging in an excess gain or a drop. If you look at Dow Jones, it fell about 13 points. S&P 500 also lost around 3 points. It fell below the crucial 2,800 level. Nasdaq dropped 1.2 points. So if you 1.2 points. If you look at the way how the global US markets were, so it's basically they were in the red but not that much. It's just marginally declining. Investors are keenly watching S&P 500 if it will breach the 2,800 level significantly, and that's been one of the crucial levels that the investors are watching out for. And what the market participants are saying, that it's time right now to slow down and not take big calls in the markets until and unless a deal is finally arrived at by US and China. If you look at other corporate developments, General Electric shares fell about 4.7% as the conglomerate surprised investors by forecasting a net cash outflow from its industrial businesses this year. The GE shares were among the biggest drags on S&P 500 last night. Willis Towers Watson shares also rose by 5.2% as Aon said that they were in early talks to buy the rival insurance brokerage firm, while Aon shares fell by 7.8% and that weighed on S&P 500. If you look at some economic data, the sales of new US single home sales rose to a 7-month high in December, but November's outsized jump was revised lower. Other data showed a rebound in growth in the vast services sector in February amid surge in new orders. That's the way how the US picture panned out, marginally lower in trading session. Let's look at what the European markets did. On the other hand, the European markets saw mild, was trading with mild gains. If you look at European markets, they closed higher as politics has taken a center stage now. The telecom sector was a clear outperformer in the European markets. If you look at FTSE, was up 0.7%. Let's just bring up DAX also and see how DAX was trading in yesterday's trading session. It was up 0.2%. So that's the way how the European markets were panning out yesterday. Let's take a look and shift focus and see what Asia is doing this morning. If you look at the Asian markets, last I checked, they're all negative. If you look at Nikkei, is down 0.6%. Shanghai and Hang Seng are just opening up, so you won't get the actual trade actual figures from there, but Shanghai is up with a positive buy 0.3%, while Hang Seng is up 0.1%. Let's take a look at what SGX Nifty is doing this morning. SGX Nifty is showing that they've breached the 11,000 mark and is trading firmly above the 11,000 mark for the SGX Nifty, up about 28 points. So hopefully we will have a positive start this morning when the markets open. Those are the roundup of all the global markets and what the markets are expected to do this morning. Let's shift focus and let's look at some of the global news. US confirms that it's delaying the China tariff increase until further notice. Formalizing a plan, US trade officials said the postponing the date on which the rate of the additional duties will increase to 25% for Chinese products by September 2018. According to the statement, the new tariffs had been set to take effect from March 1st, but the rate will remain at 10%. Remember, US and China is said to be close to a trade deal that could lift most or all US tariffs on Chinese products if Trump and Xi could reach an agreement. Moving on, reports suggest that North Korea has restored part of a missile launch site that it began to dismantle after pledging to do so in the first summit with the United States last year. Reports say that the work was taking place at the Tongchang-ri launch site and involved replacing a roof and a door at the facility. The news comes days after the second summit on denuclearization between Trump and the North Korean leader broke down over differences. United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that he is hopeful that US would send a delegation to North Korea in the coming weeks. And moving on, US Food and Drug Administration Chief Scott Gottlieb steps down, ending a tenure at the agency where he approved a flood of new drugs and cheaper copycat pills, pushed for sharp curbs on e-cigarettes. A senior FDA official said that his resignation had been planned for some time and that he was leaving the Trump administration on amicable terms. BMW issued warnings that no Brexit deal could threaten the production of their cars in the United Kingdom. BMW has announced that it could consider moving production from its Mini from the UK into a no-deal scenario. Separately, the head of Toyota's European operations said the negative outcome could put future investments at the UK factory near Derby at risk. The motor industry has become increasingly outspoken on the consequences of a no deal as the March 29th approaches. And as Canada introduces stringent transparency rules, Google plans to stop political ads during the Canada's 2019 elections. The decision highlights the different ways that tech giants are addressing elections and content integrity issues. The transparency bill, which was passed in December, requires online platforms to keep a registry of all political and partisan advertisements. However, Google's automated auction system makes it increasingly difficult for the tech giant to comply with the regulations. And after a string of sexual scandals, the Swedish Literary Academy has announced that 2 Nobel Prizes will be awarded for literature this year. The Nobel Foundation blocked the Swedish Academy from awarding the prize last year after sexual misconduct allegations. The scandal, which first emerged in 2017, was the biggest crisis to hit the Academy in its history, with a string of members resigning in protest. The Academy has since taken measures to create good opportunities for restoring trust. That's the word coming in from the Nobel Foundation. And for a moment, the world is quite content to absorb more dollar debt at remarkably low interest rates. It would be a folly to assume that current favorable conditions will last forever. Misguided ideas may yet drag the issues of the central bank independence to center stage with unpredictable and potentially serious consequences. That's the word coming in from Harvard economist Kenneth Rogoff.